Namaskar. Our discussions during this COVID distress time, we continued with Bhagavad Gita yesterday. In between, when there are some questions, some requirements on specific topics, including some scriptures, we have seen Shankara and we have also seen Ramana Maharshi. We had few questions. One of the most interesting question which all these scriptures are pondering into is basically, who am I? Who am I? The other day, when we were discussing about the different concepts of who am I, where Shankara says, I am not that, I am not this. And we have enjoyed that. When that text was under discussion, there was a very, very famous, we don't know who started this, a well-known story which I wanted to tell, but that I was holding because that was in a flow with chanting and some slokas. Today we thought we will discuss the same thing, picking up the tag from Bharat. Namaskaram. The question from Bharat, which is a $1 million question. I messaged to Bharat saying that it's a $1 million question. But let us look at it very light, as light as possible. We will explain why we look at it as light as possible. Whether it is seriously to be seen or it has to be seen very light. Because it talks about something which is of myself, my soul, my Atma, my Jiva, my Paramatma, my Brahman, my self-realization, my practical life. What is that it has to conclude, or what is that directions in which I have to go to diverge into different topics in the world. When all these are under consideration, there is a great story that comes in mind. Probably you must have heard that story, but maybe you could recollect or rejoice that story, that one king had 4 wives. Whenever we talk about a king, and we have to say that he was a great king, a rich king, and then he had 4 great wives. Let us talk about the 4th wife first. The most adored, the rich robes, treated with finite delicacies. Always the best was selected to give it to the 4th wife. Most important. Taken care of very well. He loved the 4th wife the most. The most. Then the 3rd wife. Loved very much. Always showing her to his neighbors, neighbor kingdoms. All the guests in front of them post that, yeah, I have this wife. But he always had a fear that this third wife will leave him. If not today, one day, third wife will leave. He also loved the second wife. She was always kind. He was kind, she was kind, and had a lot of patience. Whenever the king faced a problem, he could go to her. She helped in difficult times. Therefore, the second wife was also good and great. The king's first wife was very loyal partner, had made great contribution in maintaining the wealth of the king. But he did not love the first wife, though she loved him totally, dedicatedly, full time, keen. But he had no time to take care of his first wife. Not that well considered. One day, the story has to end. One day, the king was sick. He knew that he's going to Tata Bye Bye Krishna Rama Govinda off. He had a very luxurious life. Now he called all the four wives and says that I am going to die and I will be alone during my death. Thus he asked the fourth wife, the most loved one, I have loved you the most, given the best to you. Now I am dying. Will you follow me? Keep my company? The wife said, absolutely not. I am not going to follow you. No doubt. Without a single thought, instantly the answer came, I am not going to follow you. He was pained. He had severe pain by hearing that. Called the third wife. Asked, I am going to die. Will you give me company? I am going to die. Then she said, no. I am happy. You go. I have no problem. Now the second wife. I always turn to your help. Now tell me, will you come with me when I die? The king asked. The second wife said, no, I am sorry. At this time I cannot help you. I was there for every time for your help. But not during your death. I can come up to the grave, but not when you become ashes. I cannot become ashes. So stop. The king was really pained by hearing all this. Then the last, who was that? The last one, who he did not care. That wife said, I will follow you. No matter wherever you go, I'll be with you. The king never cared. That wife only came and then said, I am going to be with you. Who are these four wives? Who are these four wives? The fourth wife whom we generally take care maximum is our body. No, the body is not going to follow the soul, the Atma, if we consider soul is equal to Atma. But in Bharatiya Shastram, soul is not Atma. At the time of death, what goes is soul. What we have during our time of life is Atma. So we have to call it as soul only. The third wife, your possession, your status, your wealth, all that will go up to graveyard, not beyond that. Maybe the wood on which you are going to be burned may have the precious wood. They may pour more ghee, but that doesn't make a difference in what you are going to be decorated. Doesn't make a difference in your life ahead. The second wife, who are your families and friends, all of them not even will come to graveyard. They may come and see you at the time of death and then go. Who were there when you really wanted them for your help. Maybe not that as your power position, because your family and friends depends on your power position and the wealth what you have. The first wife is our soul. They will be with you all throughout. When you die, what goes along with you, the body will be left here. What goes? Forgiving all the wealth, the power, position, pleasure, all the friends, relatives, everybody will go. The first wife is your soul. But generally, we don't care. Right? Now, how is the first wife wedded to you? How is the first wife wedded to you? Why are you worried about your wife? Who is that you? And why do you go behind this, the fourth wife? Why? That is the question which Bharat asked. Why do you want to experience the Atma? Why do you want to distinguish and then look for your own self? Why are you behind it? Why do you want to place soul, Atma, Chit, Chaitanyam, Tejas, life force, Jivatma, Paramatma, Advaita Siddhantam, Vedanta Siddhantam, and all this? And then we say it's all one and the same, it doesn't matter whether you die or live. Why the soul has to come to sit in our body and make the same enquiry, asking who are you? The same soul is asking, the same Atman is asking, the same Atman, where is he? And then you look at all the scriptures to understand, listen to lectures to find out who am I, and then say that it is all God. And that same, the spark, if God is the fire, Atma is the spark. If God is the fire, Atma is the spark. With a lot of spark, the God is brightened. Then the spark is going to ask, where is the God? Each wave in the sea has got water bubbles which goes up and down, the water molecules which goes up and down. All the water molecules together is the wave. The water molecule is searching, where is the wave? It's not able to find out, though it is inside that. Why is it happening to all of us? We are all part of the God, and we are searching for God. First of all, what is the purpose of this? Learning all these scriptures, understanding, looking at it. Is it our Atma itself forgotten that we have gone inside somebody's body? Will it happen to everyone? How is it formed? It's a great question. But we are trying to answer like a molecule of water in the wave is trying to define what is wave. It has a limited visibility. When we look from outside, the waves are seen. The molecule, it keeps on moving along with the wave, is not able to see the wave itself. Similarly, each one of us, the great Paramatma, probably the Yeti, the best Parivrajaka who must have gone everywhere in the world seeking answers, the Mahagurus, the Rishis, the Bhagavan, Shankara himself has written so much. But how many people could realize? It's very difficult. Why? Because it is understood basically all the souls. When I say soul, it's English word. Atma is equivalent to that when we are alive. So when we are in life, with that Atma in this body, I am asking this question. Bharat is asking this question, sitting in his body, his Atma is creating a question, and me sitting in this body with this Atma is trying to explain. Shankara wrote it in the poetry. I am trying to read, but I am reflecting on what he wrote. What is this soul me and you have? All of us are in an Atma, not the Brahma as defined by the Brahman. We are all conditioned with our education, our upbringing, our parents, our karma, our activity, our satsang, our guru. That conditioning could slightly vary based on people to people. The conditioning could vary, but all of us are conditioned in different style. With that Atman in my manas, my Atma controlling my manas, my Atma controlling my buddhi, we are processing it, and then with the vocabulary which I know, with the system of knowledge what I gained, with the creativity what I have, we create few knowledge and then try to say this is the answer for this. See the conditioning what we have. Though we all have same Atma, shared each other, like the Spulingam, the sparks of fire in the big fire. We are all part of the same fire. We are all part of the same wave as molecules, atoms. And that we are looking at and then trying to talk to each other. Oh, one water molecule is talking to other water molecule. This is wave. How do we know? Okay, with that limited resources, under the conditions, under all the defects, we identify those 4 defects. That identification of defect is also under the conditioned soul, conditioned Atma. So need not be correct. But what are the 4 conditions? We definitely make mistakes. So this itself could be a big blunder and mistake. We are all illusioned. We make mistakes and we are in an illusion. And third one, we have the tendency to cheat others. All of us have. Father, mother, brother, sister, let the relation be any. There is some amount of cheating. All our sensory organs are imperfect. What we see is only very, very, very little of what my sensory organs can see, hear, breathe, smell, touch, taste. We are not utilizing it. Again, that is also conditioned. We say something is tasty because we are conditioning our sensory organ. There is a inner manas which process all these. Jihvaredo buddhyagrati sankalpa me shuddhyandam. That's why I am chanting. My sankalpa, my thought process which controls my sankalpa has to be cleaned so that what I capture through my indriyas will become little better, purified, so my Atma can understand it, maybe little close to the Godhood. So I am asking, why that God is within me? Why that God is within me? This is the basic principle of Advaita Vedanta. This is the basic principle of Advaita Vedanta. Why I am the spark and a part of the fire. Okay. What is there in the fire? What is there in the spark? If you look at a spark and then just take it close to that, you will see the material used for burning is what creates the spark. But where is the fire? Fire is inside that. Every item in the world, including water, has fire inside that. That is why we are able to fire it. You take a paper, you are only putting a matchbox which is fire, showing it to the paper gets into fire. Why? Because fire is inside that paper. We are able to get close to the God because there is God within us. That God is Atman. But only it gets the fire when the other fire comes close to that. That is satsang. This question comes to you, not to everybody. Everyone has more conditioned, so they don't get this question. The question comes only when you have the fire close to that. Therefore, you started firing. The spark is within us. That is what is explained through our Vaisheshika, Nyaya, Mimamsa, Sankhya, Yoga. Everything goes into the Vedantic pyramid structure in which the ultimate Advaita, when you understand, you realize I am the part of that fire and I am the Spulingam, the spark which created the whole fire. Fire has no existence without the sparks. The wave has no existence without the molecules of water which makes the wave. All these thoughts, the illusionary thought, probably the mistaken thoughts, all that came maybe after Shankara's Advaita Vedanta system, which is based on the illusions of Jivatma. It's an illusion. Life itself is an illusion. Jiva is an illusion. Atma is an illusion. Jivatma is an illusion. Jivatma is the soul when it has got life. When the life goes, it becomes simply Atma. Bhuta Predam. The Bhuta Predam, when in Jiva, it is called Jivatma. That means it has got an individuality. The illusion of individuality. Me, my, I, that feeling. We started questioning, thinking over it. Why that I come? Because there is an object in which the energy is existing. Is there an existence for an energy without an object? Electricity is there, but without wire, electricity cannot flow. The light is there, but without a reflector, light will not be seen. That's why the sky, the upper sky, The topmost sky is looking dark because there is no friction there. Atmosphere is not there. Avaha, Pravaha, Uddhaha, Stadapari, all the different layers of atmosphere gives a irradiation. Therefore, the frequency in which the light is 0.4 to 0.7 wavelength, we are able to visualize it. So there is an object which stops the energy, therefore we are able to visualize. So if Jivatma has to be visualized, we need a body, a material. So that resides in me, I reflect in a specific wavelength. When that irradiation is in the atmosphere with a very basic wavelength which is acceptable to 0.4 to 0.7, we see that white light. But in some frequency wavelength only it is obstructed, more wavelength things will get diffracted, less wavelength will get absorbed. You have different colors, Vibgyor. So light is the same, energy is the same, but its manifestation in different medium looks different. So God is one and the same, but in each one of these body, which is an obstacle for its manifestation, a filter of the wavelength is what is that we are seeing as different Jivatmas. That is the reality. So there is a energy and there is a body. Two different reality. They mix together to become the real. And we look at it jointly, together, maybe because of our Ajnana. We don't see something, we see something, we see together, we start distinguishing and then trying to put them together to say, oh, it is one and the same. And we say, when non-duality is there, one and the same, it is Advaidam. No, Dvaidam is not there. Advaidam, it's only one. That means we had this concept of Dvaidam in that. That is why we call it as Advaidam. Otherwise, we should not have told Advaidam. And that in the duality consciousness will become non-duality consciousness. The non-duality consciousness comes because we had a duality consciousness. So why that Jivatma has to come to me, come to you? Because every energy needs some medium to transfer. So we have a birth. That birth is my Atma knowledge. That's a self-knowledge, the energy knowledge. And there is an objective knowledge, my body knowledge, my existential knowledge. I try to mix them together. Where do I play more? I become a practical man, emotional man, spiritual man. The I exists in me, that is the ego. When the Swarupa, the Swarupam, the original Rupam, then the Brahman exists. When I, the Astitva, the identity of mine is more, it's the Astitva Jnana. The other one becomes a Swarupa Jnana. When you look at it as a Bhagavan inside me, that is what is reflecting me as me. When you realize it, that become a Sukshma Jnanam. So Jnanam itself is divided into different ones. Only when you look at the sensory organs, it is called as Sthula Jnanam. Very limited, narrow look. Because you identify yourself, either Panchabhuta, Pancha, Kosha, understand these sensory organs. In that level only you are looking at it, it is all Sthula. So these are all different knowledge. So when somebody asks that question, whether I am able to answer in what perception, you are able to consume it in which perception, depends on what level is your Atma. Are you in the surface of the wave or in the deep sea where wave is not manufacturing? No waves it is not manifested as wave at all, but it is staying away. But it's able to see that there is a wave because it is staying away. Let me ask you, assume you want to visualize yourself. What is your Brahman? For a moment, think that your dead body is lying maybe after the death, wherever it is supposed to be kept decorated. The lot of people who are surrounded. And in that fashion, you start visualizing your own dead body. For a moment, close your eyes. See that scenery. Really visualize it. It will be a beautiful scene. It will be a beautiful experience. We teach this in the self-hypnosis. When I learned hypnotism, the first step, the introductory part of learning hypnotism is self-hypnosis. In the self-hypnosis learning, we keep our Atma move around our body and we take it out of our body and then start visualizing our own body. Nobody has to say you have to take it out. I am sure each one of you, if at all, you could visualize your own dead body. You have never seen your dead body from within. You have taken you out to visualize it. That means your Atma goes out and the body is left there. I only asked to visualize. The time you visualize, in self-hypnosis we ask them to do that. Because it's a instruction-driven process. Here I just asked you to visualize. I'm sure you have taken your Atma out and then from there you visualized. That means when you die, when you think you are dead body, you are not there, you are outside. That means from the body it left. So what is Jivatma? When it gets into your body, it becomes Jivatma. The Brahman, which is the reality, when you realize you got into a body, understanding that reality, which is Vedanta, has got an ultimate reality. That understanding that ultimate reality is called Paramarthika Satyam. The Satyam, the truth, which is Paramarthikam, which exists every time, everywhere. Whether you are alive or dead, your Atma was existing. That is why you are able to visualize as an Atma staying outside, looking to your body. And there is a relationship, transactional, and in the world you have to do the dealings. The Vyavacharam has to be done. The Vyavacharik Satyam, the transactional reality, the transactional dealing. Then there is a dream world. The Pradibhasik, the dream reality. There was one disciple who went to his guru and then told one story. Yesterday night in the sleep during the dream, I had a beautiful dream. I was flying like a butterfly and then going around and doing so many things as a butterfly. When the disciple asked this question to, can you interpret this? That was the question asked to the guru. The guru asked a question back to the disciple. How do you know you are really a butterfly and all these what is happening around here is a dream? See, what we think is paramarthic, what we think is vyavaharik, what we think is the pradipasik, it's all our thoughts. In fact, it's all in the sankalpa level. When somebody asked my Guru Nitya Chaitanya Yati, he is a highly psychologically manufactured dealings of Advaita Vedantam. When somebody approached him, what is after death was the question. Then Yati asked him back, what is tomorrow for you? Do you know what is tomorrow? If you don't know what is tomorrow, why do you think about what is after death? It is the wave is formed. Each water molecule don't know when I am going to be up, because it is not his action what makes that molecule to rise in the wave. It is the satsang, it is the wave, it is the pattern, it is the nature. It's all controlled by somebody else. I have no role. No role at all. When Parikshit had 7 days in his pocket for his life, and then he is going to die, everybody was crying, saying that, oh king, you are going to die. He had a question back to all of them. Do you know when you are going to die? I have guaranteed 7 days, but you have not even guaranteed next moment you could go off. So we think there is a great question. In Mahabharata, you know, the 4 brothers went for fetching water. The Yaksha took their life because they couldn't answer the question which Yaksha was asking. That's called the Yaksha Prashna in Mahabharata. When Dharmaputra went there to fetch water, he has seen his brothers died there. All the great warriors like Arjuna, Bhima, all of them died. Anyway, Dharmaputra cannot fight with somebody that efficiently as Bhima or Arjuna. But with Dharma, he could. The Yaksha Prashna comes. What is that now you are thinking, was the question asked to Dharmaputra. Any brother would have answered, yes, I am thinking about my brothers who are dead here. I want to know what happened to them, why it happened, how it happened. All would have been the question, the panic questions. The question in agony, distress. Dharmaputra patiently asked, I am thinking about the whole universe, the cosmology, how the planetary systems are moving. If you have answer for everything, I had this question long back. I am thinking about it. I was waiting for someone to get in front of me to ask this question. Answer me. Yaksha was wondering, how can somebody think like this? Your level of thought depends on your status. You think about your relative, friends, this problem, that problem, because that's the level in which you are. Assume you are a CEO of a company, all the time you don't have to think about your family, your small things. You have a higher things to think. The Prime Minister has no time to think about small things. He has to think about the country. Which is higher, which is lower is not understood. With all the thoughts, the highest thought is asking, who am I? More higher is Bharat question now. How is that it came to me to create this question? Why is it coming to me into this body? Why am I asking this question? Why Atma is coming inside me? Why is it creating these questions? Why these discussions? That is because that Brahman is the ultimate reality, which is the water molecule, which creates the wave. In each one of us have got a role to play there, which in different places it is called different. The Atma, when you call it, looks like little global. The self, when I say it gets into me, and so many such self is so many such sparks in the fire, which creates the fire, which is the Atma, the Turiyam, the Aksharam, the Om. When I say Om, it is not mine, it is all universal. Aksharam is which doesn't have a charam, which doesn't have beginning or end. It cannot be destroyed. It is not mine, it is yours. But the same, when gets into me, I will say it is myself. Something fires, we say that is the fire of the paper, but there is no fire of the paper, there is only fire. When it goes into the paper, we say it is the fire of the paper. That's it. See, there is a beautiful experiment. This is the time of sanitizers. Correct? Everybody has sanitizer. Take a drop of sanitizer, keep it somewhere. Don't fire it. Show fire close to that. Or maybe fire it once. Fire it once and then blow it off. But it is hot. You know that contains heat inside. That contains fire inside. And then that sanitizer, you don't even show fire as close to that. Keep it 2 inch, 3 inch away. That's enough. This will start burning. The sanitizer will burn when the fire comes 3. That is why people say with sanitizer in hand, don't go to the oven. Maybe when you are lighting in the kitchen, the oven is lighted, it could catch your hand also because the sanitizer has got fire inside, inbuilt. That's true with any alcoholic. So the level in which the fire inside an alcohol or inside a water, inside different elements, it could be slightly different. Each one of us have got an Atma inside, the God inside, the level in which it is polished and raised, ready to fire, ready to self-realization, ready to blow it up. That may not be that well matured. For some people it is well matured. Nimisham jolitam sreyam nadu dhumayitum chiram. That energy inside them, nimisham jolitam sreyam. Any moment it sparks. The question comes, the answer comes. The spark is inside. It is not the answer is understood, learned, by hearted, asked and then purified and kept. The question comes, the spark comes. The fire comes, the fire gets inside. So the fire is inside. It is not coming from outside. It's only a reflection. It has various attributes. Some organisms, some life patterns, maybe leaves, dogs, cow, each prani, creatures, virus, it's not able to understand. That's it. Virus have no life. It's a lifeless. It's like a protein. It's like an annam in the minute form. But it spreads so fast. What is it getting spread? Because it has got a sense inside, that sense organ inside. That knows how to catch, how to grow. And there is a incomprehensible, unimaginable mind. That mind works. That mind is entirely different from the sensory organs. It has a thought process. It knows where to spread, how to spread. Nothing else. It knows how to flow. It knows how to fire. It knows how to dissolve something. Soap knows how to dissolve. The basic inherent character is there. It is not related. It's unrelated. But sometimes it is not accessible. Sometimes it is too much accessible. It is not graspable. It's not expressible. It's not manifest. It will not come out. Sometimes it manifests. It starts its transaction. Our Atma is like that. It stays inside. When it see a very congenial, useful, better, that's why we say, oh, there is a coincidence. I happened to see him, therefore the spark of learning came to me. There is a spark which comes, a transactional spark. That's why we say, oh, I met him, then the spark. That's a frequency level. The energy in which you have, that comes out because there is a frequency which can show that. That's the wavelength is matching. The wavelength doesn't match, there is a coherence. If it matches, beautifully it goes together. The harmony comes. So, there is a Satyam inside us. There is an existence inside us. There is a knowledge inside us. There is an Atma inside us. That is a consciousness. That's an infinite consciousness. That's what is called the Brahma. So what is Brahma? Brahma has Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam. Chit, Sat, Chit, Anandam. An existence of consciousness with full of bliss. Sat, existence. Chit, consciousness. Anandam, bliss. Satchitanandam. A full consciousness that is within all of us. But it cannot manifest itself. That Sat cannot manifest itself because energy requires a body for its existence. The fire needs a material to manifest into fire. And as in the whole universe, there is a Sat. And only Sat. Only one universe, one ism, one I-ness. That is what is existing. So for that which is shared and given to all of us, like the spark has got the portion of a fire inside me, but all that spark together creates the fire. I am part of that universal I. But there is a you and there is a you and there is a you. All joined together becomes I, the Tejas. That doesn't change by age, growth, education. All that doesn't change. But only the reflection comes when there is a light comes to that Atma in a specific direction from a specific density, specific intensity. And then somebody else realizes, yeah, this is the person to whom I have to go to manifest my I in him so that we join together as a guru and disciple. It's not because somebody is famous and he speaks good English. No. That identification and realization of acquaintance between the disciple and the guru, the student and the master, understand this is my master, where he has got an answer for my questions and let me ask him that question. So it is not getting answer from him, it is reflecting my thoughts in him to get into that. Once you get into that frequency level, I and you will see the same light. It could be red light, green light, blue light. You may keep this question for long years. Maybe you will see the greatest masters in your world, but you may not get this question out. You don't know what to ask and where to ask and why to ask. because it needs a maturity. You'll have to go step by step. Having read something, having written something, having thought about it, having a self-reflecting on that, doing a charvida charvanam, a digestive process inside you, you brush up your consciousness to such a polished level, you think, yeah, this is the time when I can ask, I get a reflection, light will come to me. Otherwise, that questions will not come. And for that, probably answers need not be given. You will start inventing the answers. Answers are not in the words. Answers are in the reflections of the words in each one of you. When you are able to reflect in between the words, you get an answer by yourself that may be entirely different from my answer, what I gave. Because the pure consciousness in you may be much more polished than the conditioned consciousness which I was talking earlier. I have my own conditioned consciousness with all the defects, 4 defects. Probably any one of you may have less mistakes than me. At some age of mine, I had this question. I asked my guru, he gave me an answer. That point of time, the reflection would have been either convex or concave, either diffused or focused. We don't know whether it is diverged out or converged inside. We don't know. But there was a reflection. That reflection is what gives me the capability today, probably to reflect on some of them. The medium could be different. The intellect and the buddhi could be different. The basic understanding of that Atma, that Jivatma, that Paramatma, that Brahman, that consciousness is the absolute, silent, instant reality which gives the creativity in all of us. That awareness, when it reflects in some medium, I need a medium. If I don't have medium, how do we reflect? The sunlight comes, if there is no friction, irradiation will not come. Irradiation, IRR, irradiation will not come. Irradiation is what is giving light. There is an obstruction in the path. If there is no obstruction, darkness. When you obstruct, you start asking questions. You don't just live like this. You have hurdles in your life. You have problems in your life. That problems are created by your thoughts, but not the objects outside. Your reflections on something. Otherwise, you may write an answer for the question and then get marks. You will get certificate. That's a smooth flow. Totally dark flow. The brightness will not come. That is not with the Indriyas knowledge. It is not it is an inner awareness. Understand that field of awareness. That nature is called Sat Chit Anandam. That is part of each one of us. It is all shared. The property of the body doesn't matter. The part of the body doesn't matter. The product of the body doesn't matter. But there is a Jivatma requirement for that Sat Chit Ananda to manifest. That is why it's existing in all of us. That may be existing in many, but they may not reflect. Since they may not reflect, they will not have questions. They will become silent observers. They don't ponder inside. If you don't ponder inside, you are not a student. You are a stud nut. See the dictionary for the answer, the meaning. The independent entities need a conditioned body manifesting a good Atma inside to be an effective person. Such effective people are only their activity which results in creating awareness in somebody else. That is what when we say Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, all my gurus are in that category. Guru Sakshat Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I salute that Guru who gave me that spark for looking at that. It can be chanted by everyone, but reflecting on that meaning, understanding and then getting into that sadhana is must. With that sadhana, a beginner in that sadhana will have doubts and questions. And you can basically ask questions. That basic question is, why am I there? Instead of asking, who am I? Why am I there? Why I have to live is the first question. Why is this life? Then look at who am I? But that's a much deeper. To survive, to continue, to exist in this world, in a Jivatma, until the death, doesn't require questions and answers like this. But if your karma needs to be at the highest level, you and me need to get into the Atmiya level, highly spiritual level, called the Atmiya Purusha. The medium of this body is must for the manifestation. So this body is only a medium for manifestation. To travel from one place to another place, I require a vehicle. But that travel happens. Any vehicle can take me from here to there. But that travel, look at the words, I am carefully using my words most of the time. The travel becomes a journey. The travel becomes a travel for many people. They are transported from one place to another place. But quite a few people get this travel, convert themselves into a journey because they are in Sat Chit Anandam. They enjoy the surrounding. They do a beautiful job. The whole journey, they make it so captivating. They influence the people who go around in the same vehicle along with them. They show their presence. So when he gets down from the vehicle, after some time in his bus stop, the people who are left in the bus stop will wonder, it is only few minutes we had, but now we are missing him. Do you create that in your travel? Then you are that person who is reflecting that Sat Chit Anandam. So you need a vehicle, you need a body, you need partners, you need satsang. Otherwise you will be a lone person. Assume you are traveling alone, you will not be able to show that you had that Anandam inside for sharing. You need company. That's why satsang is must. That's why for a guru followers are must. Otherwise he doesn't require. So that you have something to share. That sharing will be creating blissfulness in everyone around. When you can create that Sat Chit Anandam, the blissfulness around your people for longer time during the journey of life, that energy which you have, which gives Anandam and the bliss, is actually the intrinsic feature of the Brahman which is inside this body. The body is not important. The absence of I want to travel goes, and then I say I want to travel with you will come. The I will go and you will come. where whatever I am doing is not for me, for somebody else. Such activities which I do in my life, that becomes actual karma, where love is shared, care is shared, everything is shared. There is no conditional selfish, it just goes. That realization comes to each one of us, that there is no limitation, boundless, limitless, conditionless. Though my life is conditioned, my Atma is conditioned, I have all the limitations, all the defects, the 4 defects which we said, all that I may have. But within that wrong vehicle, with all the difficulty in the transportation, still my transportation, I can make it a journey. Let that be not a fantastic air-conditioned push back seat vehicle. It could be on top of a lorry, open, with all the trouble. It could be heavy rain, but still I can create the happiness inside my fellow travelers. If I am doing it, my life has a purpose. So everyone is sent here with a purpose, for a karma, not a job, not an action. The definition of karma, Ena kena prakarena yasya kasyabi dehinaha santosham janayat pratna tadevam ishvara pujanam. That moment of time, little time, if we can spend like this, that's a great blessing. So why am I here? That godly particle I, which get into that Atma, that Chit Chaitanyam Tejas came into me to create this I, is for that purpose. With that faith only, I am on live like this. It's 5 o'clock. Let us continue this if there are few more questions. Otherwise, we can continue this non-stop until this I becomes Aham Brahmasmi. That will never happen because it needs a moksha time. Non-existential thought should come in each one of us. Krishna, Rama, Govinda should come. So namaskaram to each one of you. I am only seeing time now, 5 o'clock. Prayers. God bless you. See you tomorrow from 4 o'clock to 5 o'clock. Thank you.